Hello and welcome back. In this lesson, we're going to attend to the profile page. If we take a quick look at it, we can see it's looking pretty sad at the moment. It's just got the word profile written on it. I've actually got the completed version here that we're aiming to build. This is actually a div with a grey border around it with rounded corners, and it contains a bit of text, status, and then whether the user is logged in or logged out. And when the user's logged in, we also print the email address as well. And notice that this little grey border here on the profile page, it lines up with the home page's input control that we're using for doing search. So we'll try to achieve all that in this lesson. So to start with, let's just drag in the profile page code and I'll position the browser on top of it so we can see the two. And we don't need this flex, but if I just change the color to background rose 500, we can see what's going on quite clearly. We've got a single div here and it spans the entire width of the page. Now we can borrow some code from the home page. If I just drag it over here and go down to the home function, this div surrounds everything on the home page. And it has the property max width 5XL. That sets the width, and then MX Auto is setting the X margin on both sides to make sure it's centered, and then some padding. So we can literally copy the whole lot of this and just put it straight into our profile page. That'll ensure it lines up the same way that the home page does. And then that box with the border is best placed actually inside this. So let's create another div, and here we can create our border. So I'll say class name equals border. And if I now take the coloring away, we should see our bordered box. So we can make a few improvements to this quite quickly. I can put the padding to 6. That'll just create some space around profile. And also I can give it nice rounded corners. So I say rounded large. And there's our nice corners. And if we now go into dark mode, there is a special color for when you're using a div like this. It's what's called a card. So we say background card. And you can see that just gives it a much nicer color scheme. And it doesn't really do much in light mode, but in light mode we can add a shadow and that will show up quite clearly. So we just say shadow. And you can see it's just a little bit thicker at the bottom. So the next thing I'd like to do is replace profile with the actual content that we want to see, which is the user data. And we can grab that from the auth context like this. If you remember, this use auth call will return us all the user data we need. I'll just import that. And I'll replace profile with the 4 lines that we require to start with. We'll get the functions working first, and then we'll sort out the styling. So here we've got status, and then if the user's logged in, it says logged in and vice versa. Then it says email, and then it prints the email address. If I log out, well, the email address is just essentially null down here. Now what I'd like to do is make these 2 lines at the bottom disappear if the user's logged out. So to do that, I'll surround these 2 paragraphs with a div to group them together. And then I'll use JavaScript lazy evaluation to determine whether we're actually going to display that div or not. So I'll say the user is logged in, and for good measure, user has an email, and then I'll put parentheses around this again, just to hold it all together. And that should ensure that we only see this div containing the last 2 items if the user's actually logged in with an email address. So let's just test that. I'll log out and they disappear, and I log in and they reappear. And the last thing I need to do is to apply some styling. And again, I've got some pre-written, so I'll apply it to the status first. So you can see I'm going to use small text. A muted foreground gives the text color, it's just become slightly gray, and a little bit of bottom margin just to push the logged in text further down. So I'll save this and watch how it changes the status. There we are. And then I'm going to make email very similar, so I'll copy in the styling for that too, like this. So now we can see again it's the same text, it's the same muted, and again the same bottom margin. So let's now attend to this logged in text here. So here I'm having much larger text and a large bottom margin to separate logged in from the email below it. So let's save that. And then I'm going to use the same text on my user email at the bottom. Okay, so that should complete everything. I'll just close the code and have a quick look. So this is in light mode and this is in dark mode. We can see if we click on the home page, it's lining up correctly. And if we log out, email and demo disappear. And if we log in, the email reappears. So with that, I will bring this lesson to a close.